Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am very pleased to address this magnificent conference today. Many thanks for the arrangement made and for this opportunity. My talks have three parts. The first part is a brief description of the potentials of the Iranian economy and macroeconomic improvements in recent years. In the second part of my talk, the central bank's future plan will be explained. Finally, in the last part, I will present you with challenges policymakers are facing after implementation of JCPOA. I will try to tackle the economic issues later, as the next speaker, Dr. Azizi, will be addressing those issues in more depth. Iran's potentials, macroeconomic and monetary policy conditions. Iran, with a unique geopolitical population of about 80 million, young and well-educated workforce, and an entrepreneurial business class, have great potentials, which is known to you. The economy is endowed with vast mineral reserves, and not the least that of oil and gas. Ranked 18 globally in GDP in PPP terms. The $1.4 trillion Iranian economy is well diversified and enjoys a broad domestic industrial base. Although its oil and gas reserves rank first in the world, according to BP, but the economic diversification makes oil sector share only less than 15% of GDP. Under the precarious economic condition in 2013, the new government adopted appropriate policies, along with policies aiming at fiscal and monetary discipline and coordination for stable macroeconomic conditions, elimination of tension in Iran's international and regional relations was also put on the agenda. Given these appropriate measures, very soon expectations improved, confidence returned, and stability prevailed. The sound monetary and fiscal measures improved expectations, better international relations, and some sanctions relief had a swift and large positive impact on the stabilization of the foreign exchange market. Despite uncertainties resulting from the nuclear negotiations and sharp decline of oil price in 2014, market value of dollar did not rise more than 3%. In 2015, the stability of foreign exchange market continued, while declines in oil prices and foreign exchange earnings from oil export accelerated. The market value of US dollar surged by only 5.2% in the fiscal year ending March 2016. Inflation declined from 40.4% in October 2013 to 11.2% in April 2016. Moreover, 0.2-point inflation was also lowered from 45.1% in June 2013 to 7.4% in April 2016, indicating that inflation rate will hit single-digit zone in near future. With regard to economic and investment growth, the adoption measures by government in improving macroeconomic environment resulted in all indicators to move in favor of return of growth and investment. Gross fixed capital formation, which declined by 23.8% and 6.9% in 2012 and 2013 respectively, turned to 3.5% positive in year ending March 2015. GDP growth, which had continuous decline for 8 consecutive quarters, surged by 3% in year ending March 2015. However, challenges related to external shocks from oil price declines lowered the GDP growth rate in the fourth quarter of the same years, and is expected to have resulted in weakened growth performance in year ending March 2016. CBI, by active intervention in the interbank market, is trying to bring calm to this market and manage credit bottleneck. As a result, the interbank market funding rate gradually declined from the very high of 29% at the beginning of March 2015 to 17% at the present. CBI future plan and policies. Following the positive achievements in curbing inflation, now we attach priority to reach high and sustainable economic growth and creating job opportunities. To materialize economic potentials, we highly welcome foreign investment. One immediate issue is to revitalize the money and financial markets, finalize banking sector reform program, and embark on fundamental restructuring of banks' balance sheets. A comprehensive restructuring plan for the banking system, the development and diversification of financing tools and debt instruments in the capital market, along with reorganization and improvement of government debt management and establishment of the asset management companies, are measures under consideration for financial sector reform. With proper implementation of these policies, the CBI will gradually shift the conduct of monetary policy from a direct instrument framework to a market-based and indirect monetary policy framework. Another high priority measure of the CBI is implementation of exchange rate unification. We are also strengthening the central bank's regulatory and supervisory powers and extending them to all shadow institutions outside our regulatory net, and ensuring better risk management practices by banks. The central bank is strengthening regulation and supervision to ensure proper risk management practices in banks and compliance with international standards, including on corporate governance, financial reporting, financial crimes, and capital and liquidity requirements set by the Basel Committee. We attach high priority to enhancing the AML-CFT framework to facilitate the reintegration of the Iranian banking system into the global economy. Following the passage of the AML law and its implementing regulations years ago, the recent enactment of the CFT law will remove an important obstacle in the way of Iranian banks' re-engagement with their foreign counterparts. We have requested an IMF assessment against the FATF standards and intend to join the Euro-Asian AML-CFT group. We have recently met FATF board and thoroughly explained our regulatory system for the first time and received very positive feedback ever since. We are committed to advance these efforts. JCPOA and its aftermath. in aftermath. While all nuclear-related sanctions on Iran have been lifted, the sanctions that fall outside the scope of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action remain in place. This has allegedly made major commercial banks around the world reluctant to engage with Iranian banks out of concern of becoming subject to penalties in case of inadvertent slippage in complying with US rules. Moreover, excessive financial sector regulations in advanced countries, as acknowledged by the IMF, have led many US and European banks to withdraw from several regions, including the Middle East, thereby creating a vacuum of much-needed correspondent banking network. This development, together with restrictions on the use of the US dollar, present serious impediments to the development of Iran-US trade and investment relations, and place US corporations at a significant disadvantage vis-à-vis their Asian and European competitors. On the other hand, under the JCPOA, EU and the United States are committed to taking all administrative and regulatory measures necessary to ensure successful and effective lifting of sanctions to enable Iran to reintegrate into the international markets. This commitment, as we are witnessing in the past few months, is flying in the face of problems that banking community is facing. These problems, as articulated by BBA for their Thursday 12th May meeting with US Secretary of State, are following headlines, detail of which can be accessed through BBA. First, US regulatory and political approach, harmonization of approach between federal and state regulators, and an articulation of policy on how US agencies will investigate and respond to public disclosure requirements involving Iran. Second, financial crime and business risk. BBA includes in its statement the helpfulness to know what technical assistance the US and EU are offering Iran to ensure rapid removal from the FATF's blacklist. And technical OFAC guidance, providing a general license to enable non-US entities to utilize US software, extending protections offered to US persons under General License H to non-US companies, enhanced OFAC guidance on correspondent banking expectations, and finally, the creation of a US general license enabling U-turn payments. All the above items were known to USA and EU when the JCPOA was being signed. They have signed their commitments knowing all these problems. Now we feel that they should deliver their promises. It is moral and contractual obligation of the West to deliver on what they committed themselves in JCPOA, even if it means helping banks with revised regulations, guidelines, and policies. Another background problem is overzealous adoption and implementation of sanction policy, which even in the words of US Treasury officials is harming USA itself, let alone banking industry. I bring a quote from FT to show the extent of the fear in the banking community. They fear that even if they receive assurance from the US Treasury Department, US prosecutors and independent regulators might adopt a different and a stricter interpretation of the rules. With the above, it is more than obvious that there are strong needs for the US and EU to take appropriate measures to ensure that the investments made in reaching the agreement on Iran nuclear files is not thrown away. There are also moral obligations to reassure market participants of dealing with Iran. Iran needs to see the dividends of JCPOA in full. This is well spelled in the statement of Mr. Hammond, UK Foreign Secretary, when he said, "Now it is incumbent on us to ensure the sanctions relief is effective." Also, as recent as this month, May 2016, Secretary Kerry said in an interview that European banks are obviously free to open accounts for Iran, trade, exchange money, facilitate and legitimate business agreements, bankroll it, lend money. All of those are absolutely open, permissible. Iran, on its part, is ready to take all reasonable steps to mitigate the risk for willing counterparties to engage with the country. Financially, Iran has best track records in fulfilling its obligation, even during difficult times of revolution, war, and sanctions. Politically, Iran is a stable country and a vibrant society in a turbulent neighborhood. Media, pro-war lobby groups, and political propaganda have distorted Iran's image. I urge you to come and see for yourself. Then you feel the difference. At the end, I believe that governments, including Iran, US, UK, and others, need to be encouraged by banks and businesses to do more to provide comfort, including paving the way for making available payments and clearing services, trade finance, and other essential financial services for doing business with Iran. I also urge all the banks to actively communicate and work with Iranian banks with full peace of mind. Thank you very much.